finish last? We'll start by bringing up everyone that agrees now.
If you don't agree with this, just be wary of what is all over Netflix, propaganda on social media, etc. I mean, there's a reason why a majority of the women watch like movies like or shows like The Vampire Diaries, and they're obsessed with the bad guy Damon, and then Damon becomes good, and now they're all back on Stefan because he's the bad guy. I mean, it is literally a term that is known and thrown around society today and has been around for years on years. I mean, perfect example is like, I have a couple guys that they're just extremely good gentlemen, treat their, they court their women, they take care of them, and the woman could just throw it right in their face like, nah, yeah, sorry, you're too nice for me. And then they just leave them. So
I feel like he kind of just said all of it, to be real. I mean, I feel like in a couple times in my experience that's happened where I've been nice to a girl, and then like obviously like she passed me up for some dude who was like just trash, and like you chalk it up to the game. But like I've also had friends who have been in the same situation, so I feel like if it hasn't happened to you, you at least know somebody that it's happened to. So I do think it's a real thing.
I'm assuming the question is nice guys as in the guys on social media that whine about, oh, I'm such a good guy, I don't understand why no girl wants me. They do. Some of them. They do finish last, but for good reason. They're usually not the best mates, if you know what I mean. They're obviously whining and crying for a reason. Like from what I see, not statistically, but from an anecdotal perspective, to kind of build up what you were saying, like the female fantasy is that guy who has that capacity for violence, that tameable monster kind of thing. We hear about that, I'm sure, on social media all the time. But I think those guys, they just haven't, either they are not tameable or they definitely just don't have that capacity for it. You know what I mean? They're those guys that like, yeah, oh, he can never hurt a fly. Well, that's not good, because sometimes you have to be strong. You have to be tough. One, life is hard, and two, if she wants to pick a mate, she's gonna want to pick a guy like a traditional woman's gonna want to pick a guy that can defend her and her children that she might have one day. Right. She's not gonna pick some guy who's keyboarding up, complaining about, oh, girls don't like me, it's because I'm 5'11". Well, I'm 5'10", and I can still talk to women. It's not that hard. Just because you're not 6 foot, they're looking for that tough guy that is able to still be a gentleman. So yes, do nice guys finish last? The stereotypical kind, yes. Is it good that they finish last? Probably.
Okay.
I would argue too that majority of the time, like, we're not saying that good guys don't always finish last. It's just the simple fact that like that term exists, and a lot of the times, like, what comes to mind for me is like the term simp. Like that's our good guy.
Those are the good guys.
Definition in today's society. So a lot of the times women look at guys and they're like, I don't want to be like overly pedestalized by this man. I want somebody that's individual and takes care of his needs, and then can also bring me along and then take care of me as well.
And I think that's a great time to hear what the women think. And our women.
The crazy thing about it is what he said was true. The two last guys that had such to say, I feel like a guy, he still had to like be masculine in order to in order for a female to be interested, it had to be like something masculine had to be eluding from you, or I don't know if that was the word, but you had to be masculine, basically what I'm trying to say. And a lot of guys who are portraying to be nice, I remember when I would say I'm nice or I'm kind, I'm like, honestly, when I really think about it, I'm not a nice guy. And it's not like I'm not nice. I feel like I am kind, right? But I'm like normal kind. I'm not like too kind where like people could just do and say whatever they want to me, right? But yeah, you have to be masculine as a guy. So when the guy says like you whining and you over pedestalizing, that's not gonna actually help you get the girl. It's actually something that the girl don't want, because you wanna be you want to be regarded to that person as the one chick that they would want to be with. So you are being pedestalized in a way, but you're it's like a normal setting of being pedestalized. It's not like they're worshiping you type shit. And I think that's the difference. They want somebody who can pedestalize them, but like normally, and normally is just like the person that they want to be with. But it's like they don't want to be like, they don't want you simping for them. They will use you though if you're simping, but they won't really think much of you because of your simping.
Quickly, I'm gonna get our last gentleman's comment, and then
Good versus weak is what I was more referring to. When somebody says like the good guy finishes last, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the weak men finish last. I think that the people that aren't seen as being able to support her properly or be able to stand in a position, a relationship where she feels protected or comfortable or able to express herself the way that she wants to. And if you're going to sit there and be this good guy, what people think it's like more as this weak person who can't, provide their end of the relationship is what I typically see. So, because I know a lot of quote unquote good people that are in that finish line of like what I want, and like in marriages, they have kids, they have families, all these things. Are really great people, but they're not weak in the same sense too. Right. So I guess I more so agree, but it's what is your definition of good guy?
yeah, it's in the wording. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, and just whoever would like to start over here.
I think I agree with what you guys said about putting a woman on a pedestal can kind of be a red flag. Past relationships, the nice guys in those, they did put me on a pedestal, and I feel like the lack of ambition for their own personal goals was a red flag. I'm a very ambitious person. I'm very career focused. I'm the youngest manager in my company and district manager. And so to have someone that settles for bare minimum, to me, that's a red flag. I have a lot of goals and dreams, and for someone that just kind of goes along with those but doesn't have their own, I think is a real turnoff for me. And I think that's what happened with those nice guys.
Okay, I feel like there's so many layers to the term nice guys finish last. For example, you'd mentioned like simp. I've actually never heard any woman around me refer to another man as a simp. I also reject the
That's cap. They might not refer the person as a simp per se, but you know what it is. Like, I feel like any girl would know like that category of guys. Like, even if you don't name them, I never like named someone a simp before. But I'm pretty sure I could identify it if I see or if I hear of a certain person doing certain things, and I'll be like, yeah, that's simping right there. Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, women like her, they would defend it basically because they are using guys like this. They know guys like this. They know guys that's like waiting for a chance, and they're not gonna get that chance, but they're around though. Probably helping her with something, probably just listening to her stories and just listening to her period, or honestly just using them like financially or something. And those type of women would defend it because they're using these type of people, they're using these type of men. So when she say she never heard it, come on, you like in your early 20s somewhere. Like, at least that's what the way she looks like she's in her early 20s. You know how to differentiate those type of guys.
idea of needing like a super masculine man that's going to come and save me and be my knight in shining armor. Yes, I'll read romance books where there's a strong man, but is that something that I actually want? No. When I genuinely tend to think of like masculine men or like someone who's overtly extremely masculine, I think domestic violence. So I tend to actually like a more of a feminine guy and a nicer guy. But like one of the guys here had said earlier, I think a lot of guys say, oh, I'm nice, why don't I have a girlfriend? If all you have to bring to the table is the fact that you're nice and nothing else outside of that, that's not enough for you to just like have a relationship. Like I've talked to nice guys. I would hope that my partner would eventually be a nice person, but because you are nice, you are somehow below the guys that are like pieces of I don't believe that. I feel like the women that are attracted to that are attracted to the trauma of it all. And if you understand like how trauma plays in relationships, you'll understand that like if you're a nice guy, look for a nice girl, not a girl that wants to go there with you. And I don't think it's true that nice guys finish last. Again, I think a lot of guys frame themselves as being nice guys and then they go, I gave you food, why didn't you have sex with me? It's like, it's not really.
I do believe in that fact that nice guys do finish last, but like the guy said, the last guy, it really depends on what type of nice you're talking about. It's normally the people that would label themselves as nice. I used to do it before when I didn't realize that there was a stigma behind it if you do label yourself nice. And when I really think about it, I'm nice, but like the way those guys would do it with the ones that's labeling themselves as nice, I'm not that nice. I'm like I'm kind, I guess. Why I say it like that, because there are people that's gonna label themselves nice and they're just playing a role to get what they want, which is kind of like, it's very dangerous to deal with someone like that because you don't really know who they are. They're playing a part. And being nice is that part. Like she said, like, I gave you food, why you didn't sleep with me, right? They're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They're just doing it to get somewhere. And I learned from a very young age, if I'm not gonna be like bragging, like not bragging, but like trying to bait you with gifts or stuff like that. If you're interested in me, I don't have to do all of that. At least that's what I think. So I was never the type to like bring gifts in order for you to do that. I always would do it. Like if I do it for somebody, it's because I'm cool with you, and I would normally do it for either sex. So it was not like this is a method. I would do it for like a guy that I'm cool with also. So it was never like, yeah, this is how I'm gonna get into the draws. I was like, I'm cool with you. I wouldn't mind like buying something. It wouldn't really be out of the blue, but it would just be like maybe we had a conversation, right? It was just more like we had a conversation about it. I told you I was gonna get it for you, and I got it for you. That's it. It was just more like out of the kindness of my heart. But there are people that do things in order to get something. So for the females especially, you need to watch out for that.
Like usually I feel like in most cases it's just nice. There's usually like a devil tail hiding behind somewhere.
But I would argue in the sense of like what you stated, that majority of the men that are quote unquote feminine aren't looking to protect you in any like way, shape or form, in the sense that like,
right,
yeah, they might, in your opinion, like you might be traumatized from quote unquote masculine men, but when you're in danger, who's the first person that you call to come save you?
I called my blicky. So and this is funny because I was in a conversation, but I recently had to get a gun. I also, throughout media, we see time and time again, there was a little girl that was recently kidnapped in Arkansas, and she was like 13 years old, and she asked the men, can you help me? Can you help me? She went to 2 different places. None of the men helped her. In most situations, I actually don't feel like men are protectors. I feel like men are protective over things that they feel like they own. I don't genuinely feel like most men are just like, oh, I'm going to be a knight in shining armor. In fact, in most situations where I've had aggressive men speak to me in aggressive ways, the people that have stood out to me the most they've been women for me. Like
all right, like the society was built by men and was protected by men for years, for centuries. Well, yeah, for years. But for centuries, it's been like that. And every kingdom or society that was built, the people who went to protect it will be men. Even now, it's still really pretty much on the men more than anything else, because why in that story she said, I'm not sure of that story, but to me I find it highly unlikely. But she never really mentioned that there was a female involved that helped. You know what I'm saying? So even now, in the society, it's still pressured on men being the ones to help. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that the fact that you could come on the platform and say that you don't feel safe with men, it kind of shows a lot about your history. But it's like for you to even be comfortable enough to even say that, it kind of shows how secure you are within society, the same society that's built by men and protected by men for years. So it's like you're now saying, okay, I have a gun, but a gun won't help you in most situations, because first you have to be aware of the situation, then you would have to have the gun with you in the situation and actually take a good shot. By then, if a guy was to bum rush you, or a guy's was to bum rush you, you'll still be in trouble. And most of the time, like when the society is safe, is men who's in charge of actually keeping it like that way. The fact that she could, like I said, the fact that she could come and actually say that, it kind of shows how secure she is within society. That's just how it works. So
I don't feel a sense of protection when men are around.
Do you think society promotes that though? Do you think the way that women, not just women, but I guess society in a whole, they discourage men from wanting to step in and protect and do all these other things because you see so many, I guess, downsides for when a guy steps in, the way that he does it or the way that he's protected somebody, society is blaming him for, doing it in an incorrect way or whatever it may be. What also kind of shines a light on that is the times that you do see when people call domestic violence situations, those that guy's a man, he has testosterone, he's probably physically stronger than a lot of those people. That doesn't mean he's a strong man. Like that's a weak dude that's sitting there causing violence and trauma onto certain people. But when you see a lot of society discourage men from being in, I guess, that traditional role of being a protector, that's probably why you see a lot of men not doing that now, is because they are discouraged to do so.
And that's where I get back to my point. That is a weak mindset in my opinion. If you feel like you are a protector, no matter who.
Did you just prove his point just then? You just call him weak for feeling that society, the system that pretty much works around us, and it could work for you or work against you. For him to think that the society could be against you for a guy is also weak-minded. Meanwhile, females are always talking about the patriarchy and everything to defend why they think a certain way or why they act a certain way. Meanwhile, he can't do the same thing when it comes to society, because that would mean that he's weak-minded. She just proved his point just by opening her mouth.
Saying if society's telling you, oh, you protected wrong, it wouldn't matter if your values were in the fact that you wanted to protect people. I don't think society should have a way of shaming you into not believing in what you believe in, because if you are able to be like maneuvered by society in a way like that, I don't think that's a deep core value you have. That's like something that people told you were a protector, people told you were a provider, and you built that mindset. And then you had a few women that were like, I don't actually want you to protect me. And now oh yeah, I'll just let the woman on the subway get stabbed. Like, I don't know. It's just like, if you truly morally like actually felt a way about that, it wouldn't matter who. It wouldn't matter if my mom, it wouldn't matter if God said something. If you truly felt that way, your behavior wouldn't change. If your behavior changes based on societal like circumstances, then I don't think that's like a true traditional like core value.
I'll hop.
You mean the same society that could ruin your life, right? The same society that could paint you a certain way just because you're doing something. I mean, feminism is painting masculine or men a certain way. She even stated that if you're super masculine, that means abuse. In the beginning of what she was talking about before, she said she equates that to abuse if you're masculine, basically, or if she see you as super masculine, I guess she would think that you're ready to abuse her.
Extremely masculine. I think domestic violence.
So imagine a whole society that's painting you the same way just because you act normal. So yeah, it can influence you to not want to participate if you're going to be demonized. So again, it just shows the privilege of the female. When you hear certain things, it's like you don't really get it because this not happening to you. Meanwhile, when it comes to the feminist movement, they use these things, the same things, to kind of say, this is why I think this way. This is why I move this way. Meanwhile, and when you try to do that as a guy in society, you can't, because all of a sudden it means that you're not really trying to do these things. It means you're not really like what you say you are. It's kind of like that's like a crazy double standard right there, and it's coming from the same person, by the way.
I get what you're saying, and I do agree, like, in the sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, where, like, if you think you're a protector, right, and you see something going wrong, like, if that's your value, you should protect them, right? Then on the same side of that coin, to what they were saying, like, you see it all the time on social media, the little TikToks and shit, like, a girl drop her purse, drop her wallet, the dude picks it up, and he goes to give it to her, she's like, I have a boyfriend, and then it's like, dude, like, what the like, I'm just trying to help you. So it's like the media and stuff portrays that a lot. So I'm not saying I'm just saying it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people could get caught between that, because it's like, yo, like, I want to help you, but it's like, you know, they've seen so much of the media where it's like, well, if I go to help it, it's going to instantly backfire. I mean, like that prime example. Like,
I have an example of this, right? In New York, right? Catcalling is now harassment. It's they equating that to harassment, right? Meanwhile, catcalling is when you're calling a female that's like out of your reach, so you're yelling to get her attention, right? Which means you're not even close to even be harassing her, to be honest. Well, at least it could be, I guess, a different type of harassment. But depending on how you talk, how you say it, how you talk to her while you're calling, I guess you could consider it harassment. But if you're just complimenting or trying to get her attention to have a conversation, that is also considered sexual harassment now. So why I'm saying this is because I know there's a lot of female that's wanting to get approached, right? But if society is painting certain ways that a guy could try to approach, even though I don't really, you know, I'm not saying catcalling is the best way. I'm just saying it is a way, right? and society is painting that in a bad way. So like now, most guys probably not gonna want to do that, and it's not because they don't want to do that, or it's not like how they try to approach someone who's not, you know, reachable. It's just society is painting it wrong or bad. So why am I gonna be the one that is being looked a certain way? Let me just not do it. And I'm saying this because it's like the smallest thing, but it's like there are bigger things that's happening the same way, where it's just painting it a bad way, and then the females want us to actually do this, but also is demonizing of how we doing it. So it's like it just, what it would do is cause guys to just not do it, because we're gonna get in trouble if we do it. Because it's like they want you to do it, but they want you to do it in a certain way. But guys and females are different, so we do things different ways, and they just going out their way to kind of saying certain things that we do is wrong, even though it's just like this is how we do things, and it's causing guys to kind of just step back. And I don't think that's like wrong, because like society is the one that's promoting it, that's pushing it. So
Trying to give the wallet, I have a boyfriend. It's like, I'm not trying to holler at you. I'm just trying to give you your wallet that you dropped. Like, I could have robbed you, ran off with your cash, but I'm trying to do the right thing.
We can talk about it, but first we need to get their first statements, and also kind of bring it back to the prompt itself, right? I mean, this is great. It's just, let's get to the prompt, and then this will come out from after that, right? So let's get yours, and then it's all you guys.
No, I disagree, because I think, you know, like kind of like what you were saying, like there's a difference between good and weak. I want a nice guy. I want a good guy. You know, I want that quality, but they have to be able to, they can't just be so passive. You know, they can't just, it's kind of like the idea of like, oh, they're put on a pedestal, but what are you providing? You know, it's like, great, put me on a pedestal, but let me also put you on a pedestal, match my energy. Like, let's put each other on a pedestal and build each other up. But I think, you know, there's a vast majority of women, myself included, that like, you know, good guys want to be treated well, but also want like a man that's going to meet their energy. Like, I'm a strong woman. I need someone that's going to match that. So I do like femininity in men. I think that's a wonderful quality, but there needs to be a balance. Just like within me, there needs to be a balance of my femininity and masculine qualities as well too. So it's all about balance and matching energy, I think.
As pertaining to the prompt, I feel like it's just a certain level of attraction, because like I feel like, this is just me personally, I don't know if they agree with this, but if I see you and I'm personally attracted to you, you could be the shittiest person in the world, or you could be the best person in the world. As long as I have that like attraction to you and you don't it up, then we should be cool. And then I also feel like it's just this certain level of like masculinity. It's the difference between being comfortable in your masculinity and feeling like very toxic in it, to where you feel like you have to be this certain person or be this certain thing, or women are going to look at you as you're weak or this, that, and the third. Like, honestly, like me personally, I do want a masculine man. I want a man to sit there. I want to be led. As a woman, I feel like my job as a woman is to be led, not to be controlled. But if you telling me I'm doing this for your good, I'm going to at least take a step back and be like, okay, is he doing this for my good? Does he even have the qualities to lead me? Is he even able to be put in that position? So when we talk about all these nice guys, it's like you said, the difference between nice and weak. It's like, are you just doing this as a tactic of control? Or are you doing this because you really want to see me shine? You really want to see me grind?
There's something I want to see what you guys thought of, because based on like my understanding of looking into it, it comes down to like presentable value. So like if he's in a relationship with you and he's like putting you all the time, number one, I love you, beautiful, all this all the time, not really anything about him. They say that would be him projecting that he has no value. Like you have all the value. No offense, I'm not saying you actually, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like, in men or women, they both walk away from people that provide too much of that validation. And I also read it's because people think that we want love, but what we really want is reward. So like it would hit a lot harder, like a slot machine. If you lose every time, then you win. You feel really good. If that person's terrible to you most of the time, or not available most of the time, but then they are, it hits so much harder. And that's what we're really looking for. At least unhealed and immature people, which is a lot of the population regardless of the age. What do you guys think about that?
I think I don't think it's a word thing. I think it is a love thing. It's just that you have to also love yourself, and you have to also prioritize yourself and your boundaries and what you think, because you're also part of that relationship. You can't have a relationship with someone and you just keep pedestalizing them. It's like, but I'm in this too. Like, why should it be? It can't be an imbalance. It has to be like on the same playing field, because you also chose me. I wasn't the only one who chose you. So I think that's the thing, and it's not no. I know sometimes you don't have to be around them, but I do feel like you as a guy should have your own hobbies that doesn't have to do with the female. She shouldn't be under you all the time. It should be sometimes where you gotta just like by yourselves. You know, she have her friends, you have your friends. You going out sometimes, she going out, and then sometimes I go out together. And even like if y'all live together, like sometimes you just doing your stuff and she's just doing her stuff. She's not just like always under you. I remember when I was dating, when I was first dating, I didn't know this. So like when my girlfriend was telling me she wanted to be around me a lot. And I feel like that was one of the things that kind of ruined the relationship, because it got old very fast. Because we was always around each other all the time. Like every time I had, like, I'm not at work, I'm there. Every time, like, you know, she want to do something, we together. Every time, like, even when I'm working, she'll probably just pull up at the job and then we go home. Then we go to my house. And that just made like the relationship get old fast. And I think that you as a guy and even her as a woman have to have their own little space, you know what I'm saying? But not like on some wait 3 days to text her type shit. But it's like more like I'm doing me for the day. Or I know I'm off today, but I'm not gonna come over. I'm just gonna be probably hit the gym or something, or do something, do some form of hobby. You know, learn to be by yourself for that day, and then the next day, if you're off, or the next day of the week that you're off, and then you just go to her. You know what I'm saying? Which is which is basically why I did my other relationship after her. I basically was like, yeah, sometimes I'm just not coming. I have the day off. I can come. I'm just not gonna come that week, and I'll come the following week.
I agree with that.
Kind of build off what you just said. Sorry. Go ahead. Okay. You just said something really interesting. You said people want a reward. Well, usually reward always comes after challenge. So I think what really people want is they always want a challenge, but not an impossible challenge, but one that they know they can overcome. So I think a good partner does that. They challenge you. They challenge you to get better about your mental and physical health. They challenge you to get better about, building a family. They want you to challenge you about getting better about building wealth, building something together that you can pass on to your kids. So I think that's really what people want. And so like kind of going back to what we were talking about, putting somebody on a pedestal. When you put her on a pedestal, like you said, it doesn't challenge you at all. So that's why you get bored. Like look at people who don't have any challenges in their life, kids that, the trust fund kids that grow up but have everything handed to them. They end up just going through life doing nothing productive.
A woman's body count matters more than a man's. We'll start by bringing up everyone that agrees now. I'm going to start with you.
This is not to disregard the fact that men can be sluts. That's not what I'm trying to say. But honestly, when I think about it, women mature a lot faster. Women really know what they're doing. And I don't mean to shame or anything like that, but I feel like it gets to a point. But personally, I feel like when it comes to like sexual relationships and sexual intimacy, that's supposed to be with somebody that you truly feel intimate with. And I know that not a lot of men feel that way, honestly, and they'll probably lay down with anything. But I feel like as a woman, you know who you want to give your body to and who you don't want to give your body to. So it's like when you're going outside of that comfort zone so much, or you've built this like tolerance to just sex to where it means absolutely nothing to you, it's like that. I don't think that's a good sign. So no, I'm not trying to say that like a woman's value diminishes the more bodies that she has or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel like as a woman, you are kind of held to this standard. Like you should hold yourself to a standard is really what I should be saying. Like you should know not everybody needs to see your body. Not everybody needs to be in your body. Not everybody needs to know who you are on a personal and on an intimate level, because as a woman, that's supposed to be reserved for your man. You feel me? So maybe if all your sexual relationships have been inside of intimate, real relationships, yes. But when you just out and about and just f***ing and ducking, I can't support that. I guess that's my opinion on it.
Okay. And is there one of you gentlemen
Before the guys start answering, I feel like, yes, the female body count matters more than the guys, but, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I think body count matters on both sides. I think as a guy, we prioritize like sex a little bit too much, and that hurts us just like it hurts the woman. It's just that the females, it hurt women instantly. Men, it hurts us, but it hurts us like, it's like 50-50. Like you could go and be a player and actually like end up settling down after a while and like actually be faithful. But you could also become a gooner. Let's just play like plain and simple, like you're just like sex, like you have a sex brain basically. And in that case, it's actually worse for the guys than it is for the woman. But it is like for the guys, we've been sold a lie when it comes to sex, when it comes to lust, and we prioritize sex, which can very be unhealthy for us. That's why like some cases, some people, especially nowadays, where guys are pretty much like risking their relationship and their marriage just to have like varieties of different women, and it doesn't help you after a while because the guy's job is to be the leader of their household, and a leader kind of keep the family together. But if you're cheating and then you break up the family, then you're not a leader at that moment. And I think for guys, we kind of prioritize duty a lot too, so it kind of messes with the duty aspect. But when it comes to a female, I think it does more because sex is an emotional thing, and female are emotional creatures. So when they do have sex a little bit too much, it kind of will fuck up with their sense of their mind basically. And not to mention, kids are involved with having sex, and if you're just like dotting and bopping, you might not even know who your baby father is, and that could be a problem because the kid is gonna be your and only your responsibility at that moment.
just get going?
Yeah, I'll get it going. I feel like a key that opens a lot of locks is a master key, and a lock that opens for any
Really?
keys is lock. So, do what you want with that.
So I'll chime off of that just because it's really simply put. There's a lot of things that you could talk about in this conversation, but women control the sexual market. They control the dating scene. So if you are in control of that situation or that scene, if you're allowing yourself to have a multitude of men come into your life, have sex with you,
Right.
and then they leave you, that's a red flag for a man who's looking for a woman with a lower body count. Now, with that being said, to add on top of that, statistically speaking, women who sleep with men, like 5 men or more, are more likely to divorce in their first marriage. It's like almost, I think, up to 80%.
Where's that stat from?
Oh, well, we can pull it
I
up.
think it's
afterwards.
actually
Okay, I got
seven.
you.
There's a
I'm
multitude
like,
of different
Yeah.
statistics that back that up. But yeah, I mean, end of the story, like a key that opens up a bunch of locks, like they present a ton of value. So, and I would like to refute off of what you said. You said that men can be and I would disagree with that. I would say men are the makers, because at the end of the day, a man has a ton of value. He's going to be able to be with a ton of women, right? But they're presenting themselves to him. Because at the end of the day, like in today's dating market, sexual market, women control it. So if men have that value and they're having sex with a lot of women, yeah, their body count isn't going to matter necessarily, to other men, but a lot of men in that way would look up to them and be like, dang, he gets a lot of women, so he has value. And then the same thing with women. They're going to look at him and be like, dang, a lot of women want him.
Right.
So what does he present that allows him to obtain this many women? So yes, in that regard.
I think I might have to just disagree with that just for a second. And
Not only that, another stat is I think it's like 80% of women go after like the 1% of guys or something like that. But yeah, it's true. Men, and it's bad because that analogy, it kind of proves my point of the sex brain for the guys. Like, we prioritize sex to the point that we talking about these type of analogies. I don't really agree with them, but I understand why you say them, because it's just like a easy way to kind of like get your attention. Like, not get your attention, but like have you understand what we're trying to say. Those analogies, like the master key that opens the door, and the lock that could be opened by many keys. That's, to me, is very degrading. But it kind of gets the job done when it comes to understanding, because like it cannot be refuted, and this is literally the point we're trying to make. And but it kind of says a lot about the guy that says it, because like people who say those type of analogies, it just shows sometimes that you just have like a sex brain, because it shouldn't be that way either way, right? It shouldn't be to the point where guys are just like being a master key that's opening how many locks. But what I will say that it just proves that, yeah, a female body count it matters more, because like the guy said, guys, we would look up to guys that are able to have a lot of like women. And for females, they also look forward to even being with that guy, because they're competing with each other. And like I said, there's a stat that says the 80% of women that goes after the 20%. It's 20% of guys. So yeah. So out of 100 of men, the 20% is the ones that's getting the most looked at by 80% of women. So that says a lot about the body count. But you'll see like a stat going reverse, you know what I'm saying?
No, I moved up here, so I know that I agree with the prompt, but I just have to disagree with that in a sense, because if I get with a man and I ask him, like, mind you, body count does not necessarily mean too much to me, but it means a little bit, you feel me? So it's like, if I get with a man and I'm like, what's your body count? And he's like, 25. I'm like, dang, it's only 4 seasons in a year. You only 25 years old yourself. So it just makes me think, like, what situations could you have possibly put yourself into that you would have gave yourself up that much? Because I do think that a man's body count matters. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, but I'm saying, like, at the same way that I'm supposed to value myself and who I give my body to, as a man, that doesn't mean that you don't supposed to value yourself as well.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you at all. I think a majority of men do like try to conserve their body count to be low, but a lot of people don't. In today's society, a lot of times you see people go out to the clubs and enjoy that nightlife, and that's what they do. Now, I'm talking in a general perspective. This isn't a personal perspective. So personally for me, yeah, low body count for myself, but I'm saying in general, most women are going to inherently, it's something to be, wary of, is your body count. Because a lot of men who are conservative, who are religious, they're going to look at you and be like, well, if you got 10 bodies, like, why would I marry you? Like,
right.
There's no need to do that. So, yeah.
That's what I would speak on, is like, when you sit there and you think about a girl's perspective on it and a guy's perspective on it, like a guy's perspective is they they do value that somebody hasn't gone out and slept with a bunch of people and, you know, given a lot of that to other people. Where a lot of women, and not like specific humans that I want to point out, but I just know generally there's a lot of girls that are out there that say, oh, well, I can sleep with whoever until I'm this age, and then I'll decide I'm going to settle down. And they don't realize that a lot of men inherently do not value that. They value that they've held themselves to a certain standard, and they don't, you know, just give themselves up. That's not to say that men shouldn't do the same thing, though. Like I also, in the same sense, think that men should also not be just going around sleeping with a ton of different people, and then when they decide, oh, I'm going to settle down now, that, you know, it's not going to matter to that person as well. Like I think in a marriage, both of you should limit that amount of people that you've been with or that you've slept with, because kind of to your point earlier when you said like somebody slept with so many people that they lose that connection to be able to, if you're intimate with somebody, you can't connect with them the same way that it's supposed to be and what God intended it for. So if you're going to sit there and diminish that gift that we've been given, then it's not going to mean something to you. And then back to Nico's point, it's like, well, now because you don't cherish that, or you don't feel the same connection that you should, people are more likely to get divorced because they don't get the connections that, you know, sex was intended for.
I think a little more tactful way to put what you're saying is kind of women, like we've also kind of touched on already.
The thing about the divorce rate is that sex is desired, but it's also a form of greed that's in sex. And if you're participated in greed of any kind, you won't be like sustained. Like you can't stay in a relationship, in the marriage, because it won't sustain you. Especially if you're watching like certain shows, you're reading eroticas, like you're reading things that's supposed to like pretty much get you like very sexually weird, to the point that you want things that you never even custom of doing. And it's only because of the fact that you're into these type of stuff, or you're watching these type of stuff, and you have a sex brain, that you can't even look at your partner. And I'm pretty sure most of the time it has to do either sex or financial when it comes to those divorces. But yeah, and even if it's not divorce, you're probably cheated, and you're not staying faithful with your partner because you can't. You're too used to having different type of partners that you can't stop and stay with one person. And that's the problem with the females more, because they are emotionally involved with it. And the same thing could happen to a guy, but most of the time the guys don't value sex to that point to be emotionally tied to it. The only problem with it is still that the guys are participating in that greed aspect, so they want like a variety of different girls and have a variety of different girls all the time. And with that, you can never be sustained. You can never stay with one person.
Is women are the gatekeepers also, like you said. You guys are the gatekeepers of the opportunity to mate. So I think on the surface level, if you're willing to have a high body count and sleep with all these different guys, then obviously your standards for what you are going to be intimate with are a lot lower. That's just how that works. To go on a little bit of a deeper level, and I think more from your guys' perspective, is sex is way riskier for women than it is men, right? Anything that can happen to a woman after a bad sexual encounter can happen to a man, and then some. Right. You know what I mean? Like the big thing being an unwanted pregnancy. Like that's a huge risk for women, right? Yeah, we have a bunch of, we have contraceptives, but still, it still happens. I mean, how many times do we hear about it? So there is that. You said, a man's body count does matter. I think it does matter. I think if I remember correctly, almost everybody here is Gen Z. I'm probably the only millennial here in the room.
Yeah, there's 99.
Yeah, I'm 94. So not 94 years old, but I know I look it, but I feel it. But it is one of those things that I've noticed too, that I actually admired Gen Z for, is a lot less of them are going and throwing themselves around than what I saw, like even just, you know, maybe 10 years prior, you know, going through school of like girls would be bragging about the guys they've slept with, guys would be bragging about the girls they slept with. You don't see that as much anymore. So that's a way that I'm seeing society heal itself a little bit.
That has everything to do with our entire generation is in a spotlight now. Like,
Exactly.
every single thing you do, you're
on social.
like everybody.
That, and because everybody is pretty much inside social. The fact that internet is a thing, and you know we have cameras in our phones, it does put everybody on the spot. So it probably does lessen up, and people probably try to put it on the hush. But we also have a rise of people just airing out their business on the internet too. So and it's like certain sexual information that like you could have just hold that and nobody need to know that you did this, that, and the third, and they're doing that and they're putting it on the internet. But yeah, that's probably why is like a shortage now than it was before. It's because people are not as social as they were even when they go outside. You know, everybody's sticking to themselves and people that they know a lot more. So
knows about it. If you're out with a guy, there's going to be a post about it. If you're out with a ton of different girls, like you're going to see posts about it.
Exactly.
And everyone's constantly worried about that image that they have. So like, you don't get to just fly under the radar and do all these crazy things anymore as much as you used to.
With all this talk about women, I think it might be valuable to hear what the women think.
I'm glad to hear that when I was standing back there that it got brought up that body count should matter for men too, because I think it's important that because to me sex is an energy exchange. So you have to be able to, like, I want to make sure that you have good energy before I give you that part of myself, right? Like, and that we can be reciprocal in that. I wasn't always like that, you know. I suffered a lot of trauma from a young age, so my adolescence was a little risky. So does body count matter? No, because my body count, while it might have been on the higher side because of decisions I made as a teenager, you know, that shouldn't be held to me now because I've done the work, I've healed, I've grown. I no longer do that. So I don't want to judge anybody for decisions that they've made.
But didn't you just come out and say that body count should be for men? Or are you saying it should only be for men? But look, man, and this is why I think females do not like having sex, like dotting and bopping, because they always try to push that stigma from them. You know what I'm saying? If you was dotting and bopping, it doesn't matter if you was a teen, doesn't matter if you was in your 20s, you were dotting and bopping at one point. You know what I'm saying? And you can't take that stigma off. You can't turn around and tell people they cannot judge that part of your life, even though you did it. That's not something you could do. That's not how that goes. If you're deciding to do something because you want to do it, cool. But you would have a certain, like, people will have a certain opinion on you based off that of that action, and it's not their fault that they're having that opinion. It's because you chose to do something that caused them to have that opinion of you, and you cannot control or dictate that. That's not how that goes.
In their past, I don't want to judge anybody. A body count shouldn't matter, because if you're making those decisions now of going out and sleeping around with everybody, then yeah, that matters. But because of maybe something that you did when you were a teenager, and because of whatever reason, trauma, whatever, shouldn't be held against a person now. That shouldn't devalue them, because who I was at 13, 14, 15 years old is not who I am now as, you know, a grown adult. That is where, for me, it's like, does body count really matter in that regard? No, because I'm not going to judge you for where you've been. I want to see you where you are now. So what are you doing now? If you're doing that now, then that's fine. Go live your life. I don't agree with that personally, and I'm not living my life that way. But you know, I'm not going to judge somebody for what they've done in their past per se in terms of the decisions because of whatever reason.
So what you're saying is body count matters as long as you're doing it in the present? Then with your logic, it shouldn't matter, period, then. It shouldn't matter in the present either. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to take that stigma off of you, that stench off of you, but you can't. It's a part of your life. It's what you did. Whether you like it or not, is part of you. And when you do the work, you have to come to that realization that it's a part of what you did, and just live with that. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that you should be persecuted as a 20-something-year-old for something you did in your teens. But what I'm saying is, if somebody chooses to not mess with you because they know of that, then that's their right as well. And you can't dictate how they feel about that.
So like in my case, trauma and abuse, which then triggered it to become, you know, more of a pattern rather, you know. So we should, you know, not hold people to things that they've done in the past.
I'd like to state I've been celibate for a year just before I start this, but with the lock and key statement that was made earlier, I think this is a mindset that men hold. To a lot of men, body count does matter, but I think a lot of women are also wanting a lot of the men that are on the market. And personally, like for me, the same group of people that talk about having like post-nut clarity is never somebody I would ever take sexual advice from, because I've never experienced that a day in my life. If I had sex with somebody, if I looked at something, I never thought, maybe shouldn't have done that after. Like I was decisive in.
Because you're not a man. This whole time, it always feels like she's trying to compete. You're not a guy. Obviously, you're not going to have a post-nut clarity. You don't understand why guys have that. Guys have it because they don't value sex as much as female value sex. See, because a female, she has that emotional component to her. So sex is not sex to her. It's like more like... It's more like making love or being with somebody that she actually want to be intimate with. But a guy, he could actually have sex with somebody he do not like, which is why the term post-nut clarity is like, after it's all said and done, we come to realization that we don't really like you at the like. That's what that means. You cannot have that feeling because you a female. So obviously you're not gonna understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like some females, when they mess with a guy in that way, it's either like a trauma thing, but even if it is a trauma thing, they really like the person that they actually messing with. Either like physically, maybe his appearance, maybe his status. She likes him in a way. But a guy, he could mess with you and actually have sex with you, and he does not like you because he's just getting access to you. And that's why you have the post-nut clarity, because while you're dealing with her, you're not thinking straight. But once you finish getting what you want from her, now the clarity comes to mind and you're like, hey, what am I doing?
My choices of giving my body to someone.
Doesn't make
and the
it
same
right,
way
though.
we talk about a lock and a key, I personally don't want a lollipop that everyone has put in their mouth. So it's like, you can say, oh, you know, it's different for men and
that makes
women, but
sense. That makes
an
sense.
extremely lustful man who has slept with multiple people, I think will continue that lustful behavior. And we've seen this with celebrity relationships. Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce. I mean, like, you can be as good of a wife as you can. And if you have a lustful man by you, he will pick the
Right.
the not choosable woman, the woman that is not marriage material, and he'll still cheat behind your back and go cheat with the one that is easily accessible. So I think like this whole, also, if I lie to you and tell you my body count is something that it's not, you have no way to prove that I'm not like telling the truth. So I think
Actually, you do, because like I said, female are emotional, and sex is also emotional, which makes like if you having sex a lot, it will show in your personality. It will show the way you come across people, and it will show in the way that you work. Which is why I also keep saying, have a long relationship with the person, because of course the person can lie to you for a year, for even probably 2, depending on the person, but you cannot lie for like 5. And if you do, then something's up with you. But most likely you can't. And just like, don't get the googly or like the goosebumps feeling. Just keep watch, and eventually something she says, something she does will reveal that she's probably been around the block.
at the end of the day, I think it's truly a mental thing. If you're gonna say I want,
Even, sorry about pausing again, but even her turn around and say, "What if I lie though?" That says a lot, because if you're going to even have that as a like a play, that kind of says a lot. Like, not only that you're not gonna be truthful, but you might been around the block and choose not to say anything.
partner who isn't sexually all over the place, you should hold that same standard for yourself, because to think that you're going to get into a relationship and all that's going to be magically gone, I think it's really silly to think that. If you are a lustful creature and you have sex with just about anything just to get your rocks off, in a relationship you're probably not going to be able to just tone that down. Or
I'm in a relationship and a person asks me their body count, they're not the person for me. I think that's very childish behavior. As long as you're tested, we're adults.
That's true too.
I don't really care. I'm not saying I'm going out and being with everybody, but
the difference between a female and a guy is that a guy has to invest a lot in the relationship more than the female. And not only that, the guy thinks more. The guy, when the guy actually likes a girl, he's thinking about family. He's thinking forward. A female thinks within the present of the relationship. So like, she's saying like, "Hey, we're adults. It doesn't really matter." But that's because you're not the one who's gonna be taking the worst of it if I get you pregnant. Now, so imagine I'm with you. I didn't know, and you've been around the block, and I got you pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows how you look sexually, and I'm the one who literally has to stay 18 years locked in with you because I'm the stupid one who got you pregnant. So what I'm trying to say is, like, guys invest a lot more than females, which is why they care a lot more than females about this thing. And guys think more forward, like, about family and building family, and females pretty much think within the present when it comes to family building, and when it comes to being with a guy. They think like, as the relationship is playing out right then, that's what they care about. But a guy is thinking forward. He's thinking about all the things that he could potentially like be part of or messed up because he chose to deal with the wrong chick.
to myself as a person, and if I choose you, I chose you for a reason. But again, with the lustful thing, if you're having sexual encounters with 100 people, it probably shows in other aspects of your life, and not wanting or not having enough in other aspects. And then also the energy exchange. I think giving yourselves body, both men and women, to someone, it definitely plays a part in your mental health. That's why everyone, no matter what gender, should be cautious of what you're getting yourself into. But also women are at risk for higher sexual assault, rape, and I don't think it's anybody's place to tell them how they should heal. Whether that is, again, it's not the most unhealed version, but sleeping with people to get their power back, there's no room to judge on how someone heals. It might not be the right way, but
the problem about that is most people who are dotting and bopping is not because they no. It's because it's being pushed through society that they are liberated through having sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, for it to be a high body count of then there has to be also a high body count of guys, and guys are not going out there like at a huge or high amount. I'm not saying there's no females that's out there that's getting raped, but what I am saying is there's not like a huge high body count of, huge group of guys or like group of females that's actually getting raped, and that's what's leading to them doing that. Another thing is a female's power is not having sex. A female's power is leveraging sex, which means is like you can't be out here thotting and bopping and try to leverage the sex as well. To leverage sex, you have to basically not have sex and be with a guy, and you're just like withholding sex in order to get the marriage, the family that you want. So leveraging sex is your actual power. It's not like having sex, and that's something I feel like a lot of people just either don't know or they just get like that mixed up. So when they talking about, oh, but she got raped and she's now getting her power back by having sex, to me, I don't know if there's people that's actually doing that, but I hear it a lot. But I don't think that makes sense, because if you're traumatized by getting raped, you would want to not participate in any type of sexual activity. It makes more sense to kind of be, to kind of isolate yourself from having sex or having problems or complications when it comes to having sex with a partner because you got raped. It doesn't make sense for you to be flaunting it around just because you got raped. But like she said, everybody does it differently. Although, if you, as an adult or as a person who's able to make choices, choose to do it, then you cannot determine how a person thinks of you. You know what I'm saying? You just had to live with that and keep going, keep moving. You cannot turn around and be like, no, but you cannot have this opinion of me even though I chose to do it. So that's just that. And I don't think it's like women doing it to the point because they got raped. I think that's just more or less probably an excuse, or maybe I'm being insensitive at this moment, but I feel like it's more of an excuse than anything else.
To me, I'm not going to judge anybody for doing that.
Usually it's the man who presents the question and it's the girl who says yes or no.
Correct.
And if it's the other way around, it's basically unconsensual, which is not.
Yeah, I only said that just 'cause I don't want it to be confused.
I thought I was hearing that wrong. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. Because I think, and I think kind of look at it like, do men create it? I doubt it, because in nature, in every other creature, basically, every other species, the female ends up selecting. So I would say that it's a trend, so I think it's a safe assumption that it's the same for humans as well.
I would agree.
So you would agree? Would I'm curious to see your answer. Would you agree that women allow access?
I think yes, but also if a man's asking 100 people, then
Well, who's to say he's asking? I mean, he could just,
then
it could just be.
consensual.
But the reason why I ask is just because you brought up the STD and the STI,
Yeah.
scenario. But like, if women are presenting that they're answering the question to men asking, hey, the man's asking, can I have sex with you? And she's like, yeah, right? She's allowing the access for sex to happen. So majority of the time, it's predominantly women who are having sex more, which is why that STI and the STDs are spreading more.
It's also,
In accordance to your logic.
it's also
I think there's actually statistics that disprove that, like men actually are usually the carriers of STD, and I wish I had the statistic with me, and if you are like a sexy hot guy, if you are asking 100 women, you might get 50 of them to say yes. So, is it necessarily the one woman who told you, yes, I'm okay?
But that's still 50 women to the ratio of one guy, though. If you ask 50 women and you sleeping around with 50 women, that's still 50 women, but that's one guy. So, what are you saying? One guy is asking 50 women, and 50 women is saying yes. That's still 50 women, though, to one guy ratio.
With that, is it her somehow fault, or is it the guy that's like putting his dick everywhere?
Well, that's going to be in the portion of accountability, right? You have to take accountability. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
The man's asking, the woman allows him to do it. Yes, but at the end of the day, you are in control of who comes in, which is why it refutes back to, a key that opens up many locks is a master key, but a lock that gets opened by many keys is a shitty lock. Like,
Again,
that's the whole
I
point.
never want to put a lollipop in my mouth that you all have just shared. It just
Exactly. So in a sense, you would agree with us.
Where you say it takes two to tango, it does take two to tango, and it takes two irresponsible people to get an STD. So it's like, again, even though I have allowed access to someone to come in my body, right? Because I said yes, somehow like it's more meaningful to me. It doesn't make sense to, I feel like, defend somebody. Again, asked 50 women or however many women in the club that they can, and they're just trying to bag some sex for the night. I think if anything, that is way more disgusting and much more questionable behavior sexually than someone who goes, oh, I like you, I'm into you, I want to have sex with you. If you have someone who's just giving it out because they just want to get it out, like, I think that's, in my opinion, that's grosser. Like, that's nasty.
What's interesting about this question is we're both gonna, like, both sides are gonna argue whether somebody should or should not value something. But at the end of the day, I talk to men all the time. I get to see their perspectives. I also obviously talk to women too, and I get to see their perspectives. Like, I know men inherently value that somebody hasn't slept with somebody as much.
I
right?
said that.
It's like that, yeah, they have a lower body count. So whenever we're sitting here thinking about, the master key or, the lock, when we're sitting here looking at those, at the end of the day, the men are going to get to determine what they value the most, and women are going to get to determine what they value the most. And when you jump into a relationship, I think it's important to be transparent about your body count, about those things. And if somebody's asking about those, it's because they value them. And it goes back to one of the first things that I talked about is, like, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody and you're good for them, then you're going to share the same morals and values and all those other things. And I know just inherently men value that, and that's going to be something that when they jump into a relationship, they're going to want to talk about that. They're going to want to know that 35 other guys haven't been in a relationship with this person and slept with them. They're going to want to know that, she is, I guess, more selective with that. She cares more about it, and she's saved that for something that, means more to her. And it goes back to, like, the number of times that you've slept with somebody diminishes what that relationship can be.
I said that earlier though. I think men have this thing of like wanting to own someone. You do not have access or own someone's past, and you could only hope.
But I can sit here and if you have your past and not you specifically, but say somebody says I've slept with 35 people. I know me personally would be like, I know that I cannot marry you because that is something that is going to bother me.
Hey, sorry, I'm gonna go on that.
Once again, I also have a question.
For me, that's as a guy, like I'll say this, like if I'm like, I mean, I guess because I don't care as much, right? But like I'm saying, like if I find a girl, you know, like we're hanging out, we're cool, clicking, and then she's like, let's say if it goes for a month or two, then I'm like, you know, what's your body count? And like for his example, she says 35, like, bro, like especially like how in her example, like she said, like if you're a female who did this like in your past, like for me, if we are here and now, I was with 35 dudes, but like that shit happened 5-10 years ago, like bro, who cares? Like that, like to me, that has nothing to do with right now. Like you did your shit, like yeah, like you know, but it's like you can't go in the past and like change that shit, right? So it's like if you, to me, if I value as a woman, like you got values that like I can see myself with. That one fact that you was like crashing like with lots of dudes back in the day, like I'm not gonna be like, oh man, like you were a hoe back in the day, I can't do this. Like it's like, man, like she said.
Here's the problem with that, right? Because it sounds good what he's saying, right? But looking at the background is because on both sides, being able to do that or doing that, it says something about your mindset, right? And for the females, she's the one that is one carrying your kid like one day, and then two will be an influence to them. Not to mention the system where she's automatically gonna have custody and you have to fight for yours if anything was to come to be. So you have to really be vigilant with who you deal with, and like if you have boundaries, you just have boundaries because if you impregnate the wrong woman, it could backfire hard. And that's like 18 to 21 years of your life that you have to be with this person. Not to mention that if this is what you did at one point, it says a lot about your mental state. And maybe you changed, maybe you got better, but do I want to take that risk? Because the brunt of the relationship and the marriage will fall more on the guy than it would on the female. So do I want to take this risk? And that's the thing that he's not understanding, is that it is a risk that you have to take. And dealing with a female that you know been around the block and you still deal with her, what if something does come up where you probably presenting her to like a friend who also been with her, or you presented her to like family members who also been with her, what happens then? Would you feel as confident as you feel right now, knowing that your little brother already hit, or knowing that your best friends from college already hit, or knowing that your boss or your coworkers hit? Everybody's looking at you a certain way because they all know how your girlfriend look like, or your baby mama look like, or your wife looks like sexually. You can't even bring her to a spot no more because you just found out that certain people in that spot already been in there. So yeah, it's a risk with that. So I think that's what he's not understanding. He's just trying to basically be the nice guy in this situation, which is crazy because they were just talking about that. But this is kind of one of the things that these nice guys would do. They will put aside their boundaries that they would normally have, and then they would turn around and be like, no, it shouldn't matter because you're an individual, and we should pay attention to the fact that you're an individual. But yeah, if a guy who, I don't know, at one point he murdered somebody, right? And then he came to you, he date you, and then he tells you that he murdered somebody, you're not gonna wonder like why or what was the case? Especially if he turned around and said, you do not own my past, yeah, I'm not gonna continue that relationship. But hey, if you want to take a risk, go ahead.
People grow, people change. Like, you know, I'm trying to look at you and value for what you bring to the table now, right? What you did 10 years ago when you were 16, like, you know, it is what it is, bro. Like,
so after hearing all of this, are you switching sides?
I don't want to say
And
I'm
that's fine,
I don't
because
want
this
to.
is
No,
an
no. I
open
don't want to say
thing.
I'm switching sides. I'm saying ideally, I would prefer a woman who hasn't been slutty or anything. But at the same time, like, if you have the values I'm looking for, and like, even if you say you was with 100 dudes, I'd be like, kind of like, damn, you know.
But you just contradicted yourself. And this is what I'm trying to say. He's trying to be the nice guy at this moment.
It's like,
because he just said, ideally, I would rather a woman who's not slutty. So if one of your things, even if it was back then, was actually being slutty and it's against what you would normally want, you're going against your boundaries. This is what they were speaking about before, about the nice guy. He's trying to play that role in order to find sympathy from the other side, from the female side, instead of actually standing on his ground about his own boundaries. Because he literally said, I would prefer someone who's not slutty. So if you would prefer somebody who's not slutty, why would you even entertain somebody who was? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could understand, I could sympathize with the fact that, hey, you changed and you did something wrong at a point. But I could also understand that, yeah, you still did it though.
whatever, my turn now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we going, you know, like, geez.
Well, I mean, I think where you're getting at with that is the high body count itself isn't really what matters. I think it's the why. Kind of like what you were saying. Like, if I was young and making stupid mistakes, young women, like, you guys are all kind of at that age right now. I mean, like, where guys, especially like guys who are sociopathic, not that most guys are, but like there's a very small like percentage of guys that are very sociopathic that are just going to use you guys for your body. And they're very prominent in the dating scene, and it's very annoying as a guy who's not that guy, because every girl who gets played by so many of those guys starts to think we're all the same. And so, kind of going back to the high body count thing, like, the higher your body count is, most likely, yeah, if you've got a body count above like 35 and you're in your 20s, I doubt you've been in at least half of those as a real relationship, for one. But again, It kind of comes back to the why. Why is the body count high? You know, it's to me, it's more of like a little like footnote, like, oh, we'll come back to this later. But again, if I don't find that out until like a month in, at that point, I know whether or not you've healed. I know whether or not if you're Christian, you've repented, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I know that, okay, she's made that change in her life to where she's not going to be a problem. One thing that you kind of notice in a trend is men kind of want a woman that makes them feel special, which I kind of think is why subconsciously the low body count comes in. And then women kind of want a man who's desirable amongst a multitude of women.
Right.
Yeah, where does that come from?
I can back that up. It's pretty simple. Like 80%. So if you take 100 men in a room, right, 20 of those men are going to be sleeping with multiple women, right? If you have 100 men, 100 women, right? 20% of those men are going to be sharing that multitude of the 100 women, because 80% of those men can't even get a conversation with you in the first place. Like, a lot of men lack just the probability to even communicate with you. And a lot of times, a lot of women will just disregard a man coming up to them if they're the same height as them in heels.
Right.
Like, it's unbelievable.
That goes back to the nice. It goes back to the nice guy.
You two have kind of already answered it, but like, you two gentlemen, so I'm curious, because like in my example, like you were talking about the why, right? So I would say the vast majority of my body count occurred from a teenage, when I was very, very young, you know, up till 16 years old. Then around 16, I started realizing, no, this is not how I want to live my life. But that occurred because I was sexually assaulted at a very young age. We were kind of talking about your way of getting your power back and choosing hypersexuality, choosing to heal, you know, and then trauma that I also experienced at that time, just from other things, caused that for a span of 3 years of my life, you know? So 3 years of my life from 13 to, 16, in that range, you know, I would say I slept with more people in that time than I have in my entire adult life, you know? So it's like, with that, like, if, for example, like, does that still, if the why was justifiable, I guess is my question. If the why was justifiable into, you know, why they had a high body count, and if they have those values, because we're talking about values that, you know, women could bring, I would say, yeah, it's valuable that there's a low body count. I think there's value in that. I can agree with that. But
Of course, there's value in that. Anything that has value is because there's less access to it. You know what I'm saying? If $1 million is valuable because not a lot of people could have $1 million, right? It's literally the 99% versus the 1%. And the 1% is the ones who could have that amount of money, not the 99%. So when things are less accessible, is more valued. And that could go for anything, pretty much. Almost anything, I think.
isn't there also value in self-awareness and growth and the ability to like come in and like reflect and choose to be a better person? Like, to me, there's more value in that. So I know you two have already kind of like talked about this, but I'm curious to see what you two would say about that.
Yeah, I think it's
Well, but the thing is like, okay, let's just say I have the ability to date 10 women, right? You're one of those women, right? I know that 5 out of 10, including yourself, had this kind of history, right? And the other 5 had less, a half, or even like a quarter of what y'all had. Which part of that room you think I'm gonna go for? You know what I'm saying? The thing that people are not understanding is that, sure, you might have the growth, you might have all these things, but there is a female out there that have those things and don't have your past. So that should just be something that I think we all think about when we do these things, especially like sex when it comes to women. It's just like, instead of trying to find it, you try to understand that, hey, guys do not like this, right? We might like you for a few hours, a few days, but not for the long term. And because of that, let's not do this. Instead, they want to do it, and then they want to push that stigma away from them, and be like, no, I changed, I grew, and it's like, but you still did it. That's the thing. You still did it. So if I have a chance to date a person who hasn't done that, and I know they haven't done that, in comparison to you, who I know have done that, I would choose a person who haven't done it. That's the thing. We have like, there's options. I'm not saying everybody has like a plethora of options. You don't have to have a plethora of options. You just have to have one more option, and that's enough to just be like, nah, I don't want to like have a long relationship with you because of your past. And that's just like that's just how it goes.
objective 100%, because at the end of the day, like for me, yeah, if you come into a relationship and you're like, my body count's 10, I'm not even looking your direction. You are literally like, I'm not even going to reply back to you after that,
Right.
just because like it doesn't matter about the why. It's a perfect thing to talk about between men and women, because this is an equal opportunity opinion. You have to take accountability for your actions. You know, if I shoot somebody when I was 7 years old and you know, they're not here anymore, you know, and I'm 27 years old, and I'm like, hey, I've changed, you know, but you're still going to look at my past and be like, wow, he still killed somebody, you know, like.
We can still take accountability
Right.
and change the behavior. That's also,
I had
people should
something
be
I
held to
also
that.
wanted to say. Okay, have y'all experienced post-nut clarity?
Yeah,
Almost every guy
I
did.
would say it's real.
Me personally, no, just because like anybody that I'm with I'm in a serious relationship with. So
Yeah, but I'm talking about even on the hub, you know? Y'all experienced
no.
that?
What's that one?
She's talking about.
I know.
You're talking about corn.
Sorry, my mom might watch this. I gotta be stupid there.
Because I think most women, specifically, most women usually aren't just sleeping with people just to sleep with them. If we talk about satisfaction in bed, most women aren't even having fun. If you look at the statistics, most women aren't orgasming during sex. And I know personally, every person I've slept with was someone that I thought I was going to be in a relationship with. And like you were saying earlier, there are a lot of guys in the dating market who will proposition you. They know that you only want a relationship. They'll court you. And then once they get the sex from you, they dip. So was it my fault for like sleeping with so many guys, or was it like, oh, I actually tried to save myself for someone good, and I tried to I didn't sleep.
But you did it though. Wait, hold on. Let me just wait until she finished talking. Let me see what she got to say.
Sleep with just anybody. I slept with this person and I thought we were forming a relationship with each other, only to find out I was being played. It was the game. It was, I was being manipulated into giving my body up, knowing, and the person, I always let them know, like, if you don't want a relationship with me, stay far away from me. I don't want to just have sex with anybody. That's not what I'm here to do. You have to take accountability for that. Where's the accountability for men? Because this is something that I constantly hear men talk about. They talk about it's the love of the game, and it's the it's the game, and it's
Women create the game though.
All right. Here's the problem though. The problem is that you didn't wait. Waiting is you actually waited for marriage. That's you waiting. So you just telling a guy that you don't want to, you want to be taken seriously. Meanwhile, you're not like showing him that you want to be taken seriously. That he's not gonna take you seriously. If you're saying, "Oh no, I want a relationship and I want to have sex with someone that's not ready for that relationship," why are you having sex with the guy? Why don't you wait until like 3 years, at least 4 years in? He already court you 4 years. He already proved to you 4 years in. Why are you not doing that? Why is it that he already have the access to you, that you're telling him that you want him to be serious in order to have it? You're not enforcing the fact that he should be serious because you're already giving it to him. To enforce that, take 3 years within that relationship that you have, build and have that as a foundation before you even give it up. But you're not doing that because you're talking about he already have sex with you. So that's the problem. The problem is not the fact that, because it is a game and we all know the game. We all play it. We all participate, whether we know it or not. And we know that there is a game that exists. But for your own well-being, if you want a guy that want to take you seriously and you want him to take you seriously, then you have to also take yourself seriously in that moment. And you have to enforce it because you're the one who's in control. He cannot just yank you up and demand sex, because that would be rape. So you in control of that. So you have to turn around and be like, no, this is what I want. And if you're serious about it, then you could wait 3 years, 4 years. How about a ring before that actually happens? And if he shows that he's not finna wait, then you got your answer.
And it's
Women create the game though. It's you guys are.
It
women
takes
do.
two to tango,
Right.
though.
It does.
Women might be
Well,
the
women
playmakers.
control.
Well, no. So I'll rebuttal back off this. You're presenting that. Where's the accountability? The accountability is we're in a society that says having sex openly, whenever you want is okay. You have full control to wait till marriage. That's up to you. So if you don't wait till marriage because you got manipulated and that's on you, that's on you.
That's
right?
okay. I'm also not looking for a religious man either. So, that's fine. That's fine.
But you don't have
I get
to,
it. You're
but
religious.
you don't have to be religious.
No, but I get it. The whole waiting to have sex till marriage, that's pretty ridiculous.
And there you got your answer. Now you're blaming guys, but you think it's ridiculous to even wait for marriage. And like I said, you know what the girl's been through if you just listen to them. Because she just exposed herself just now. She was trying to be the one who's innocent. And as soon as the guy didn't let up and he continued to press, she turned around and says, waiting to marriage is ridiculous. When in turn, if you had waited for marriage, you wouldn't got duped. You wouldn't got played. So you know the game and you know that you participate in the game, but you want to act like you're the innocent one in the game, but you're not, because if you was waiting, you would never got duped. But you think that waiting is ridiculous. So that's why you got duped. It's not because the guy has played you. It's because you played yourself.
Yeah, you got to test drive the car.
But also, if we look at Gen Z statistics, we're having less sex than a lot of previous generations.
I see a lot of people where it's like they're sitting there and they're courting for 7-8 months, and then after they crack, that's it. That's the end of it.
Why not 7-8 years? 7-8 months. A guy could wait 7-8 months. You're not understanding that, especially if a guy that really wants to, he could wait a year. That's why I'm always saying having lengthy relationship for both men and women. Have lengthy relationships so you can understand who you're actually with. You're talking about 7-8 months, like, bro. A guy who's not really getting it and he really wants to, he could wait a whole year and a half, probably 2 years. There are guys that you're probably friend with that waited for 3 years just to get you, and you don't even know it. So 7-8 months, shit, that's lunch food for real. No, just
That's what we're saying is that the crack is the problem. Is if you're allowing yourself to sit here and introduce a sexual relationship too early, that's what, like a lot of you guys have said, is the complication. That's the problem. Every time that the sexual intimacy is introduced, that's the problem. That's what's causing all these, issues within the relationship. Then cut that out, save that, and see what happens when you don't do that. And
I think the thing that is wrong is your perspective on women.
Yeah.
So you feel that is the woman's fault if the man also wants to crack?
No, I'm saying the man shouldn't either. I think it's both ways. I think the man should definitely not want to do that either, because the minute I do it too, you're going to introduce that complication, and that's why if you are going to want a serious relationship with somebody, and you've had all these serious relationships that ended badly because sexual intimacy was introduced too early, then maybe that'd be something that, hey, I cut that out this time and see how that relationship goes.
Can I ask you this real quick on that? Have you ever gone and bought a car, you never test drove it or nothing, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, yo, here's the car, here's the keys, and you sign right away. You didn't do nothing, you didn't look at it, you know what I'm saying? You didn't take it around on the highway, none of that. You didn't pop the hood, none of
But a
that.
car and a woman are incomparable. That's
But it's like, I mean,
right. And this is what I say about the sex brain, yo. And I don't like these kind of like when you making these I forgot what they call, but analogies. It kind of is, for me, it rubs me the wrong way because you're comparing the girl to a car. like you're so desensitized that a female could be compared to a car. And that's not how that's supposed to even go. You know what I'm saying? If you had sex with one female, not even. Females are the same sexually. There's nothing really different sexually from one female to the next. But you would think that if you just have like corn brain, like everything that you're thinking about sexually is from like like a corner site or something like that, because no regular person will actually sit here and be like, well, but you haven't test drive her though. Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? And this is how it could affect the guys too, because you could have this kind of mindset, which is gonna allow you to not be able to actually have a good relationship, because all you gotta do is probably test drive, and then you're not even thinking straight throughout the relationship because you're having sex with the person. And this person could be like a really shitty person, but since they're giving you a little something, you're easy to let that go and like move the boundaries, and that won't really you won't really have a good relationship with that. And I know, because I've done that before and it didn't work out. Like the guy said, like, try to take the sex out of it and see where that goes. That's the best thing for both men and women. But yeah, I'm gonna end it right here. This was a good one. This is a good debate. Kept me up too. But yeah, in this situation, like, as for the woman, body count does matter to guys, because guys invest more than a female when it comes to relationships, especially in the beginning, like throughout the whole relationship basically. But a female don't invest too much in the relationship, and if a female is really out there, it could affect, especially if you're in the same neighborhood as the female and y'all all in the same neighborhood. And sure, she probably changed, she probably grew, but you could come across a person who also been with her, and that's just like a situation most guys don't want to be into. And not only that, is a mental thing. So you're the one who's having my kid, you're the one who's going to be filling my daughter's head with things, and this is what you did. So it makes sense why guys are alert when it comes to that. And for the guy side, I feel like guys should also like not partake in lust, because lust could basically destroy you. Like this, like the guy comparing the female to a car, or comparing the female to keys and locks. Like, yeah, it I don't know. The older I get, the more cringy those analogies get to me. Although I do understand why those analogies are put like in these debates, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, because even I probably would use them to kind of help you understand where I'm coming from, because females do not understand these things. So these analogies, although they could be cringy, it makes sense why they're being used. But yeah, if having corn brain, it doesn't work, especially for a guy, because a guy, we supposed to be the leaders, we supposed to be the ones that's like upholding and enforcing duty. So not being able to be trusted mentally is a bad thing, especially when you're just like thrown off and desensitized sexually.